Okay, good morning, everybody. It's always so nice to see everybody finding people to reconnect with and say hello. We do have a pretty packed agenda today, so we're going to get started. But of course, head out for more snacks or bathroom as you need to. So welcome, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to the 9th annual MIT Sustainability Connect event. Hard to believe. How many of you have been to one of these events before? Oh, wow, that's awesome. How many of you no longer work at MIT and still come back for the event? Please stand up. Oh, yeah. See, that's how popular this is. And this continues to be one of my favorite days of the year. It's a reminder of the remarkable, diverse, and committed community of colleagues we're all a part of here at MIT, which is why people who no longer work here still ask to come back to it. As you look around the room, and consider the unique nature and importance of MIT's commitment to sustainability and climate leadership, note that we have representation from 71 offices and DLCs throughout the day, and a combination of staff, students, faculty, researchers, and postdocs joining us throughout the day as well. It really is a phenomenal breadth of engagement and enthusiasm for MIT's commitment and aspirations, and it's really such an evolution from where we began this journey almost 10 years ago now. So for those of you who have not joined us before, which sounds like very few of you, we launched Sustainability Connect in 2015. It was on the premise that we need to build a community of climate and sustainability strategists and implementers and come together once a year in person for the exchange of ideas, to connect with colleagues new and old, through activities of shared solution development and discussion, and return to your day jobs in the hopes that you're inspired to try something new, find a new colleague with whom to connect, and be part of the future of sustainability and climate leadership pathways, which you'll also hear about more shortly. I want to share a quote from a book that I'm currently reading, and I always have like 3 books going, so this is one of them, called The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And I came across this quote recently, and I believe it really captures the underlying philosophy that Sustainability Connect was founded on. And the chapter is appropriately entitled Collaboration. And so it says, the more we pay attention, the more we begin to realize that all the work we ever do is a collaboration. It's a collaboration with the art, or in this case, your projects that come before you, and the art that will come after. It's a collaboration with the world you're living in, with the experiences you've all had, with the tools that you each use and we rely on, and with who you are today. And so for me, this is the essence of what continues to bring us together each year. So speaking of collaboration, I want to extend a grand thank you to my team at the Office of Sustainability. Just please wave Rebecca, Nicole, Susie, Steve, Don, Ellie, you, and Brian. Is Rebecca here? Is she hiding in the back? She's out front? Yeah. Rebecca's also known as headquarters in the office. So when she does come in, we owe her a big, huge thank you. But it really requires a village, so I remain indebted to the team's commitment, dedication, and much needed humor along the way. It's the one day of the year I actually have a handler, which is kind of, I would like more, which is Steve. So his job is to make sure I eat and I'm mic'd up and that you can all see me behind the podium with my height. So good job, Steve. Yeah, thank you. I did not. I forgot. I completely forgot. So we also want a moment to recognize, after, we'll have lunch together. We'll recognize the student researchers that remain dedicated to our campus efforts and continue to inspire us. So as you settle in at your tables, please take a look around. You've got an agenda in front of you. It sounds like most of you had reviewed it online, but in a few moments, you'll hear from our colleague, Nina Lytton. She'll be followed by a special update from Richard Lester regarding the future of climate leadership at MIT. We'll then turn to a presentation from our colleagues Joe, Vaso, Steve, and team, who will be providing insight into our decarbonization efforts. And prior to lunch, we'll have our very popular interactive Sustainability in Motion roundtables, during which I have a chance to meet and dialogue with members of the staff who are implementing many of our priority area commitments in real time. It's a real treat to connect with people in much more depth on a day like today. If you can join us after lunch, we hope you'll stay for our Climate in the Media panel, which we're co-hosting with the Environmental Solutions Initiative. And it's with our esteemed colleagues from both in and outside of MIT, working to explore how climate is covered in the media, today via a variety of mediums, and particularly in 2024. So before we jump into the program, though, I want to just provide a few notable updates for the amazing work that you're all doing. So on a regular basis, we continue to work from common scientific models across the Institute to inform climate action, innovation, and our organizational transformation efforts. And you'll be hearing more about how we're addressing this at the whole campus scale from Richard shortly. We reference a series of scientific reports that are published every few months, and in the case of the IPCC annually, that update us on the current climate and planetary boundary trajectories. And the challenge we collectively face is that each ensuing report seems to be a bit worse than the one before it. And so this is where MIT is seeking to step up, of course. Some of you may be familiar with the recent bioscience report published in 2023. If you haven't, I do encourage you to take a look at that online. The report reinforces this common understanding that life on Earth as we know it, according to this modeling, some of which is coming out of MIT, is under siege. So I believe the element of surprise that we're continuing to learn from and keep an eye on is the pace of change that we're now experiencing in real time. So internally, we must continue to grapple with how these scientific models and projections inform, or at times must accelerate, the work that we're doing. So with this in mind, let's review some of the work that we are doing. Because it's pretty remarkable. So since we were together last, we've had some excellent coverage in MIT News about all of these efforts, thanks to our incredible communications trio of Nicole, Monica, and Jen. The stories range from celebrating a decade of work at MIT last February to our decarbonization efforts, which you'll learn about shortly, to setting our first climate impact goals, to specific projects with our buildings. We've had a tremendous year of implementation. For those that don't know, we have 18 work streams that are activated that were outlined in our Fast Forward plan for climate action. And the projects range from integrating solar on our roofs to electrifying our fleet, increasing the number of EV charging stations, to preparing a climate resiliency and adaptation roadmap, to collecting our Scope 3 data, and more. Can you raise your hand if you're involved in implementing these work streams, to just get a sense of the amount of people that this takes? So that's a handful. We've got about 36 people or so that we meet with on a quarterly basis, responsible for all of this work across campus. Next, the Fast Forward plan also called for us to set short-term climate impact goals across food, water, and waste efforts. 3 teams worked independently and collectively to set these goals, along with the development of our implementation plans. So again, there's more in-depth information online, but I encourage you to take a look at these. In September and October this past year, we demonstrated the important role of higher education that plays locally to globally as the role of convener. It's essential. And so in September, we convened the first gathering of a newly launched Climate Community Collaborative, and we co-hosted this meeting with Professor Janelle Knox-Hayes and the Climate Policy Working Group of the Climate Nucleus. Now, there is a jumbled MIT news. I'd like you to repeat that back to me at some point today. But it's a first of its kind meeting that included members of nonprofits and community, academic institutions, members of tribal communities, and municipal representation. And we came together for 2 full days to explore the development of this collaborative for the greater Boston area, with the vision of bringing a collective, interdisciplinary approach to advancing climate solutions that are equitable, just, effective, and generate long-term economic, social, cultural, and environmental transformation. So it's a bold commitment, and one we're still grappling with how to come together. But what was clear to us, I mean, one of the bottom lines here is that by convening these stakeholders, people want to work together and recognize common ground. Can you see that one? Next, in October, we hosted a very different kind of meeting, but it was entitled the Transatlantic Symposium on Sustainable Development, and we featured over 80 academic papers from faculty and researchers alike, spanning 26 countries, and it was a remarkable gathering. And again, common theme was people want to work together, and we all have a lot in common as we're trying to tackle these challenging issues globally. And lastly, we're excited to launch a campus climate action wordmark and visual design. thanks to the communications trio, as we accelerate our communication efforts around our 18 campus climate commitments, this style and word mark will serve as a unifying design to better communicate to the community the concurrent efforts that build up to decarbonizing our campus. You will start to see this mark in corresponding visual design, brand and presentations, posters, social media, and signage around the campus. So keep your eye open for that. And if you're doing a project that's related to this, let us know too so you can use it. And lastly, if you want to know more, which I imagine you do after this very brief introduction, we encourage you, we've got a 2023 impact report that Nicole helped us publish with input from the whole team. And then each year, one of the ways that we hold the Institute accountable to the goals that we set is we publish a brochure on how we're doing against our greenhouse gas commitment. So we encourage you to take a look at that as well. Again, all online. Well, as the convener of today's event, I would like to share one of the evolutions in our own learning and work over the past decade, which has been to the importance of acknowledging our historical roots and a deepening commitment to recognizing the traditional custodians of the homeland of the Wampanoag and the Massachusetts people on which we gather at MIT today. So now I would like to welcome Nina Lytton to the podium. Nina is a spiritual advisor to the Indigenous Community in the Office of Religious, Spiritual, and Ethical Life here at MIT. She has a deep commitment to climate action and has been an invaluable collaborator and friend to the office for many years. So we asked her to help set the tone for today's event. So thank you, Nina, if you could come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I don't need to be up there. I really want to thank everyone for joining, and I am so delighted to see so many of you here from so many parts of MIT. You may or may not know, I'm also an alum. I live over there, and I first encountered Julie's work during the famous, remember the sit-in, the fossil-free MIT sit-in that lasted for 4 months outside of President Reif's office? That was back in, what, 2015? That was where I first became aware of what MIT is doing and how far the community has changed, and how much the ethos of everyday work has changed. And your leadership, Julie, and the individual leadership of everyone here and everyone that you reach is what I really want to see and acknowledge, and in a secular and inclusive way to bless today with my attention and recognition. Because as Julie pointed out, the surf is up, so to speak. It is now, the time is now for taking decisive action. Not only in each and every one of you is actively involved, but we are all involved in the project of persuasion, of encouragement, of communicating and emboldening others to join us in a collaboration. And one of the most difficult things about actual collaboration is it is a bit countercultural. It is an act of generative interdependence. One cannot necessarily predict or chart what is going to happen if I'm going to collaborate with any one of you. Each person brings their skills and talents, their own blind spots, their own rough spots, but together we combine into something new. And to have the courage to do that and to sustain that, the one Hawaiian word of the day is one called lokahi, which means a state of harmony and balance in yourself, where you are in harmony with spirit, which we can define as, for you, what is highest and best, what is the ground of being and creation and importance in your own life. And I propose that we share a feeling in this room that the earth is our home and our mother, and that is an important part of the spirit that we approach this with. The second part of Lokahi is the relationship with not only your best self connected to the spirit that motivates you, but your relationships with other people. Your relationships with other people and your relationships to the land. And that is what you each day need to fill up and take care of, because you are part of the land. You are part of the environment, and sustaining yourselves is vital. So remember, just this one thing. When you extend the hand to give, as so many of you do every day, remember your other hand, put that other hand up metaphorically to receive support, to receive love, to receive encouragement. And that is how the community keeps together. When you are actively giving and open to receiving, that is going to be the current of collaboration that will animate and magnify and exponentialize your efforts together. And I wish you an exponential increase in the power of collaboration. Thank you.